The last, what you would call fire where people couldn't get out, was in 1958. And because of that, fire codes were changed. We changed the way we did things. Something happened, we changed the way we did things. That's the moral of that story. The fire code folks said, you know what, we're going to do things differently. We're going to make buildings different ways. We're going to have exit signs. We're going to have fire extinguishers available, all of these things. And then at the very end, they even tell you if you're on fire to stop, drop, and roll. We teach kids that. It doesn't freak them out. It doesn't freak them out. We've been doing that forever. Nobody wants to talk about the stuff that's, that we think could not happen. So in this instance, we even tell them what to do if they're on fire. Got lots of tools in the toolbox. We have lots of options, lots of things that we can do, lots of things protecting us. Go ahead. Fireman gets an A+. Now, do we believe that there will be a shooter in one of our schools on your bus? Well, of course we don't, but we do know from looking at the past, it's a pretty good predictor of the future that it could possibly happen on your bus. Go ahead. In the last 20 years, and these stats are from 2013, we've had almost 400 shootings and well over 500 shooting deaths by this point in the last 20 years or so, give or take. An active shooter is basically a crazy person trying to kill as many people as possible. There is a definition for it from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, but we know that there's crazy people out there that want to hurt us. It's very difficult to predict. There is no profile that we can put together for the person that does this. We know that normally they do have some issues, but it's very difficult to predict. Go ahead. He or she wants to kill people. Your goal is to survive. You want you to survive, and you want the kids in your care to survive. Go ahead. It's a list of several of the shootings. You can go ahead. Which probably there's several that pop up, but the gist of this is Columbine. I would say most everybody has heard of the Columbine tragedy. There was a lot of issues with the police response on that. Some of them wanted to go in. Some of the police had to stay out. There were bombs exploding inside the building. Supervisors and police officers were fighting amongst themselves because they wanted to do different things. The rule used to be that if there was an incident like that going on, that the police would surround the building and they would wait for a SWAT unit to arrive. Well, I don't know how familiar you are with SWAT units. They do awesome work. I am a police officer. I'm a big fan of police officers and the tactical units. But the fact of the matter is, if you can get a group together in 45 minutes, you're doing pretty good. Most shooting incidents are over in less than 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes. So if you're counting on the police to show up and save the day, there's a good chance that, they'll help. They'll risk their own lives once they get there, but there's a good chance that it's going to be well after the incident is over. Go ahead. So we have natural responses. You've probably heard fight or flight. Those are things that you can do, and some of us will freeze in a situation like this. So those are the three things that we can do. They are all consistent with ALICE. Fight, flight, freeze. The ALICE equivalent is counter, evacuate, and lockdown, and we'll tell you a little bit about that as we go. Go ahead. Schools used to teach lockdown. Are you all familiar with lockdown? Those with kids might know what lockdown is. Lockdown is if something were going on in the school, the classrooms would be locked. They would shut the door, they would pull the blinds, and all the kids would wait in the corner, and they would wait for the good guys to get here first. So the goal is to lock down, put doors in between you and the bad guy, and try to get the police here in time to save us. Well, in a fire, we don't sit in the corner and hope that the fireman gets there first, do we? That's not what we do. Okay, so we're going to have to try to save ourselves here a little bit. We're going to have to do something proactive to keep ourselves as safe as possible. Are you guaranteed safety? Absolutely not. Nobody can guarantee you that. Police can't guarantee you that. And this plan is not going to guarantee you that. But have a plan in your mind ahead of time so that you know what you're going to do in different situations. Go ahead. This is illustrated by the Virginia Tech shootings. I don't know if you all are familiar with this. Crazy man is obsessed with a young gal at the school. She won't have anything to do with him. He lies in wait outside her dorm, sees her come in early one morning, follows her up to her room, shoots her. A resident assistant there in the dorm hears the commotion, comes running out to help her, and he is shot for his efforts also. Both of them die. Bad guy runs out of the building. A couple hours later, he goes home, changes. He delivers a message to a news team, a local news team, where he sends it in the mail to NBC, I think. And he returns to campus while the police are working on that double homicide. They're over at the dorm. He comes back. He chains the doors shut at a classroom building. Okay, he chains it shut. He leaves a note on it that says, "Don't move this note or a bomb is going to explode." A faculty member shows up, sees this, finds another way into the building. Rather than calling the police immediately, goes up to the dean's office and says, "Hey, you know, maybe we need to look into this." Before they can call the police, the shooting has begun. This guy has locked the doors because why? He doesn't want the police to get in, and he doesn't want people to get out. One gal didn't want to miss class, so she climbed in through a window to get in the building. Doors were changed shut. Something is messed up here. There's a note on the door that says, "A bomb will explode if you move this note." That's what we call an alert. Something is wrong here. Go ahead. He carried a backpack of weapons in. He shot the place up. What survivors told him afterwards was that there was a guy in the hallway acting in a very peculiar manner. He was walking up and down the hallways, looking in classrooms. He'd go on to the next room, come back to the same room, he'd look in. What was he doing? He's casing the place out, see where he had the most victims. This was late in the school year. It probably wouldn't be odd for somebody to walk in and be looking for their classroom, say at the beginning of a semester or quarter, but at the end of the semester, it was very odd for somebody to be walking around looking like maybe they were lost, looking for a classroom. So he's casing the joint out. Go ahead. This is a diagram of the building that they were in. And my point on this whole thing is some people did something to help themselves, some people didn't. You can't always help yourself. If you're the first classroom hit, or if somebody stands up in your bus and is willing to hurt people, it's going to be difficult to stop. You all obviously are in a confined space. There's only so much that you're going to be able to do, but the first room hit was room 206. He walked in and started shooting. 14 people were present. He shot and killed 10 right immediately. They didn't have a chance. The folks in 207 hear it, and they go, "Man, what was that?" And they started fighting amongst themselves, not fighting, but discussing amongst themselves, what was that we just heard? talking about a car backfiring. I haven't heard a car backfire in forever. But they're debating whether it's that. There's some construction going on campus. They're wondering what was taking place there. Guy comes across to room 207, starts shooting. 13 present, kills 5. Comes over here to 205. They heard the shots in room 206, peeked out, saw him going over to room 207. They started to hide in the corner as they had been trained, probably in their high school lives. And somebody said, man, if he gets in here, he's going to kill us. So that's when they decided to barricade. They shut the door. They laid low. They used their feet down at the bottom of the door, held the door shut. Bad guy comes to the door, starts shoving on the door. He can't get in. Fires through the door, but because they're laying low, nobody gets shot. Nobody killed, nobody wounded. Room 211, after hearing this in all of these rooms, they put a weak barricade up. They shove a podium up in front of the door. It's pushed open. The shooting takes place. Obviously, they didn't do very well there. 12 were killed. Room 204, Dr. Levesque. He's a Holocaust survivor. He is, I don't know his exact age, but I believe he's nearing 75, 80 years old. Tells everybody to get out the window, and he is going to hold the door shut, which he does. He holds the door shut. Everybody jumps out of the window. Two were shot before they could get out of the window, and Dr. Levesque was shot through the door and died. So he survives the Holocaust survivor, and then dies teaching at Virginia Tech. Proactive, nobody killed. Proactive, 2 killed, 2 wounded. Lowered the numbers. Point is, you can do something to raise your odds of survival. Go ahead. Passive, 28 people were killed. Proactive, 2 fatalities. 2 died in the room that Dr. Levesque was barricading the door with his body. Go ahead. This is people in a nearby classroom. They're locking down. They hear the shots fired, and they are locking down as they have been trained in a previous life. And they are watching TV of the investigation of the earlier homicides back at the dorm. Get the heck out of there if you've got an opportunity to get out. They're just sitting there hoping that the police get there first. They did. Police were on scene probably faster than they've ever been on a scene before, because they were right across the campus. They were probably there in less than 2 minutes when the shooting started. Go ahead. Go ahead. Police will get there when they get there. So after the Virginia Tech shootings, a new standard came out. Evacuate, hide out, take action. This is the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. They are making the recommendation that you don't just sit in a corner and hope that the police get there first. Evacuate, get the heck out of there. If you can't do that, hide somewhere where they can't find you. And as a last resort, take action. So if you're getting ready to be executed, you do something besides just sit there and depend on that person's goodwill to save you. Go ahead. What happened after Virginia Tech, though, is they wrote that up, and schools said that says workplace violence. That doesn't include schools. Okay. So after the Virginia Tech shooting, to take care of all of that confusion, they wrote it up again, or something very similar. And the 3 options are now run, hide, fight. Same thing. Run, hide, fight. but it specifically lists schools. The U.S. Department of Education was in on this deal. So we now run, hide, fight. Go ahead. Which brings us to ALICE. This is the program that we came up with. It's consistent with all the recommendations from the U.S. Department of Education, U.S. Homeland Security, the FBI, counterterrorism group with the New York City Police Department. All these acronym people have come up with this together. They send it out. Well, ALICE is consistent with all of those. It's just one plan. There are other plans that are very similar. The Kentucky State Police has a plan that they've put out. There's nothing in it, is my understanding, that is inconsistent with ALICE. So you are up to date on. You will be up to date on the latest way of thinking on this. Go ahead. It is an acronym for all of those things, and if you've got a piece of paper, you've got a cheat sheet. I didn't expect this kind of crowd, so there's probably not one for everybody, but we can make sure that that's available to all of you. Go ahead. ALICE can be used anywhere. So we've heard of shootings in movie theaters. You can take the strategies in it for restaurants. Schools fit into this. School bus, anywhere that you are, there are things that you can do to increase your chances of survival. Go ahead. We'll present it in a sequential fashion, but E, evacuate. If you can get out, we don't have to go in order. There's not a certain order that you've got to go through. You take the information that you've got and do what you've got to do to survive. Go ahead. So the A is alert. An alert, go ahead, is basically how you found out about what's going on. In schools, when we do drills, it's always the principal or somebody from the front office that says, hey, we're doing a lockdown drill. In reality, is it going to go down like that? Absolutely not. Well, in all likelihood, it hadn't happened that way yet anyway. Could happen someday, but that's not the way it normally happens. You could hear gunfire. You could hear a PA announcement. You might just see people running from a scene that says, get out of here, there's a guy with a gun. You take the information that you've got and you do what you have to do to get out of there. What if that person has pulled a prank, or it's not a viable threat and you've taken off running? What's going to happen? Nothing. You survived. And we'll go, man, what a jerk that guy was to say that, okay? But if somebody tells me that there's somebody shooting nearby, I'm getting the heck out of there. Go ahead. The L is lockdown. It's a good start. Go ahead. Next one. We practice barricades all the time. Or not barricades. We've practiced lockdown for years and years and years. And it originally was designed for prison systems. Get the prisoners in their jail cells. Somewhere along the way, somebody decided that that was the best thing that the schools could do, was to lock down, wait for the good guys to come save us. We would lock the door, turn the lights out, pull the shades, everybody sit in the corner, wait for the good guys to come get us. Different versions of it had us sliding cards under the door to to tell if we were okay inside. Maybe a green card would say everything's okay. A red card might mean that one student was out of the room, maybe had gone to a restroom or something like that. Basically, what's that telling the bad guy when we slide that card under the window or under the door? There's a lot of people in there, okay? So we got away from that. So gradually we've done things that, after we thought about it, it made sense. But lockdown, there is a place for lockdown in this plan, but it can't be the only option. Go ahead. I is inform. You're letting the 911 dispatchers know what's going on. So if you have information, if we know that something is happening down the hallway, say if there's an active shooter at the front office, that'd be good information to know. Because I tell my kids went to a lockdown school. I'm a police officer, and I say, if they tell you to lock down, but if there's an open door, if there's a door you can get out of right there and the shooter is down that way, why do I want my kid to run into a classroom and sit in the building. I want him to get away. And the resistance has always been, well, I want to know where all the kids are. The teachers, administrators want to know where the kids are. Well, the problem is with that plan is we'll know where the kids are. It's the most unsafe place in the world is where the kids are, and we might not like the results of it. So I would rather be able to tell the parents, you know what, we told them to get out of the building because we thought that was the most dangerous place in the world, and we're going to now, with the help of the police, we're going to start finding everybody. But we know they're not here, and that's what we're happy about. And we've heard all of the arguments, oh, you know, there's child molesters out there, that type of thing. Well, I'm telling you that if there's shots fired at a school, there's going to be not dozens, there'll be hundreds of police officers here within a reasonable amount of time. And if that's when that child molester goes, you know what, this is the time I strike. It is. I'm not saying crazy things don't happen, but we want to get them out of harm's way as quickly as possible. So evacuation is always going to be our first choice. Go ahead. C is counter. The counter is let's do something proactive. We teach the kids to run around the room, throw things, scream, scissors, tape dispensers, book bags, water bottles, whatever you do, run around. And the reason for that is there, and there might be a slide on here in a minute that says it, police officers who are very well trained in active gunfight situations miss 70 to 80% of their shots. They miss 70 to 80% of their shots. However, low trained homicidal maniacs going into these situations hit over 50% of their shots. So let's do the math. Why is that? That's because we're all sitting in a pile in a corner, and all the person has to do is shoot into a crowd. He's going to hit every single one of those shots. Well, we're telling the kids to run around, make noise, scream, look for an alternate way out of the building, out of that room. Is it a guarantee that you won't get shot? Absolutely not. But your chances are much better if you get shot in the arm, the leg, the foot, than if somebody stands over you and kills you execution style, and that's what happens in a lot of these situations. Go ahead. Evacuate. Next. We want to limit the number of targets that are available. So I'm hoping that you all are thinking in your own heads here about what you can do if something were to happen on your bus, okay? If we can get them off the bus, we want to get those that we can get off the bus as quickly as possible. At the schools, we have a predetermined area that they all go to. So if the kids are running from Simon Kenton, they're running down the road, I believe, down to the Kroger in one direction. And is there a funeral home the other direction? Whichever direction I'm looking at. So if you get out of the building on this side, you run that way. If you get out on the building on this side, you go the other way. And the reason is we don't want everybody that gets out on this side to run around back in front of the building and put themselves back in harm's way again if the bad guy is coming out of the building. Get out of the building and run. Are all the kids going to do that? Are they all going to go to the rally point? No. But we have to have a place for them to go. We've got the police and the fire departments are going to go meet them there. We have to have some place for them to try to get to. Some of them are going to go home. We're not going to find them all for a while. We're going to start looking around, but with any luck at all, they're not here. Okay? And that's what our goal is. We'll start finding them. We'll start making the phone calls. The police will start rounding them up in the neighborhoods. Some of them will go home. Some of them will jump in their car and just take off. But with all the police coming, it's going to be tough to get in your cars. So if they get out of here before the police get here, they might make it out of here. Otherwise, it's going to be everybody just running in all directions. And we'll do our best to find everybody in good time. Go ahead. So I want you to think about your plan before something happens. Go ahead. Go ahead. You got to do something. Got to do something. Go ahead. Can you play those two videos in a row? I don't think they'll come up that way. These are just a couple videos. They're not going to give you answers, but they'll perhaps make you think. There's 2 of them, and each one is about, I don't know, 4 minutes.
Good morning. How are you doing? Good, how are you? Who is that guy? I don't know. I'm seeing him.
I'm passing up my third stop in the rest of the woods at Allen's house because it was suspicious, very crew lurking around. I'm going to endanger the rest of the kids. I need some help, please. Come on, hurry up, get on. Sir, can I help you? Sir! Oh!
Here's another scenario.
I was doing a packet last night, yeah, but I fell asleep.
Yeah, I was worried you're really late. Well, we can study with us. So, what's his problem?
I don't really know about all this. It's actually a little weird to do it.
It's kind of creeping me out. Well,
Don't just stop talking about it.
Good morning.
good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Is everything all right?
I don't know. I don't know. Each scenario is going to be different. If it were to happen around here, I don't know what to tell you to do. But I would consider what you saw and have a plan ahead of time. I thought all of the scenarios were realistic. I thought the video was well done. It's put on by the Indiana Department of Education, and I believe the state police or the Department of Transportation had something to do with it. But there's not a whole lot out there for you guys. There's only so much you're going to be able to do in a confined space. We chuckled when he ran out of the bus, but there was a kid that ran with him that got out of the bus. I mean, if they stay there and they are all killed, I don't know that that's a better plan. He got one out. Maybe 4 or 5 of them follow. I don't know. You got to take the situation as it stands, and maybe him being out of the bus, he's able to protect that student or a group of students. I don't know. I'm not telling you what you have to do, but you've still got those options. You can lock down. You can stay on the bus. You can evacuate, get off the bus, or you can counter. Some of you in here are probably 21 years old. Some of you in here might be 75 or 80 years old. It depends on what you're able to do and what you're willing to do. We're not telling you that you've got to go fight an armed person on the bus. But in that situation, that particular bus driver, in some of those scenarios, decided that was the best way to save as many people as possible. It's up to you. It's up to you what you do, but have a plan ahead of time. He ripped the brake, got the person off balance, swerved the bus, got the person off balance. I think those are pretty good. Those are pretty good plans. Maybe that's what you have to do in that situation. It's just designed to make you think, what would I do? What would I do? Go ahead. There's only four slides left. Let's go back to the question, the one before that. This is the quiz. This is to see if you pass. So this is if you're in the school. What would you do if the shooter was at the opposite end of the school? Evacuate. Evacuate. That is the E in Alice. You've got an A+ so far. I'm very proud of you. The shooter is on the same floor and you can hear the shots in the hallway. What do you do? You don't know where he's at, but you know where he's not. He's not in here, so our best bet is going to be to lock down. We lock the doors, we barricade the doors, we shoved desks, lockers, whatever we've got available to us, we shove in front of the door. The teachers have redesigned their rooms for just that purpose. They teach with their doors locked now. Doors are locked in the building, and they teach with the room shut. Does that stink? Yeah, it does, but that's the world we live in now. You gotta think ahead a little bit. I don't want everybody to be overly paranoid, but I don't want you to be sleepwalking either. Question number 3. Shooter comes in here, shooter is in the room. We counter, absolutely. We counter, we throw things at them. Here in the school, there might be some football player types. That might make their day. There have been more than one occasions where students have grabbed somebody and the rest of them, see what's going on, and they pile on top of them and hold them down. They hold them down. It can happen. It has happened. There have been teachers, coaches, Joe Schmoes that have saved the day. They've looked at what's going on. There's no reason somebody should be walking down the hallway with a gun in their hand. They're up to no good. There's something going on. And if you tackle somebody and find out, oh, it was a toy gun or whatever. Well, they shouldn't have had that gun there in the first place. At least I can explain my actions. I can explain why I did what I did. 3 for 3. Is there one more question? You don't know where the shooter is. You've just gotten, somebody just said, you may have heard somebody on the PA, there's a shooter in the building. What do we do? That one's a little tougher, isn't it? I gave you a hint beforehand, though. We know where he's not. We know he's not in here. We know he's not in this. We know he's not in this room. He could be anywhere else. So the safest place that we know of at this very moment is to lock down. So we'll secure where we are. We'll barricade as best we can. We'll look for an alternate way out. So as we get more information, perhaps people are texting each other. Perhaps you just hear screams in the hallway. Perhaps you hear, perhaps you can hear the commotion going on, and where it is, you want to get away from it. In the classrooms, the teachers and the students all know that if we lock down in the classroom, the window might be the best way out. Obviously, there's not a lot of windows in here, but if you're on the first or second floor, you can probably get out of the first or second floor. Could you break your leg, break your ankle? Yeah? That's what happened at Virginia Tech. There were some broken bones, there were some scrapes, sprains, but they lived. There are intended consequences, and there's also unintended consequences. And folks that are not trained, well, we already know that police officers, just from what I told you earlier, miss up to 80% of their shots in a dynamic situation. And that's a well-trained police officer missing 80% of their shots. To the civilian, packing a gun with them, perhaps there would be more accidents than, perhaps not. I don't know. But I can tell you right now, as it stands, I don't believe that's going to happen here or in any of the neighboring districts around here, and it hadn't happened in the state that I'm aware of either. Over time, you could probably convince me that a well-trained person, perhaps somebody that was previously a police officer, perhaps a military person, perhaps, I don't know, but not all of them. And I don't know that we can just let folks be armed just because they want it, because I've got friends that I don't want weapons with them, and I'm not sure that it would make other people around them feel safer either. So I know that argument is out there, but I can tell you that that's not gaining steam right now. Anybody else have any questions, concerns? I hope it's just giving you food for thought. I hope you can imagine in your head what you may do in a violent situation, and hopefully you'll think about it ahead of time. Hopefully it never happens. Odds are it won't happen, but it has happened around this great country, and we've just got to be ready if it does. So, anything else? Well, thank you all very much for your time.